Hi folks, it's Jonathan again, Spiritual Speakeasy. Now then, just to let you know, a bit of a revelation today actually. I don't know if you've noticed anything about me at all, but I am sans jaquette, or in kind of English that means I've not got my jacket on. And I don't even know if that's French or not, to be honest, but sorry anybody out there who speaks French. I know that was a cataclysmic disaster. But there you go. Just to say thank you, folks, for your wonderful comments once again, for tuning into these videos, which always amazes me, by the way, and for some of the amazing comments that you're coming out with. It's just incredible. I suppose it's confirmation that there are people out there all singing from the same hymn sheet. We're all speaking the same language. And that in itself is absolutely incredible. So thank you so much, folks. I know some of you have subscribed, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so. I've got my little subscription thing going on up there somewhere, and if you click the bell icon as well, then you'll be able to keep up to date with any new videos that are coming out. I had to think about that one, by the way, because I'm a mirror image. And it's somewhere up there. All the professionals just kind of do it without batting an eyelid, but of course I'm not professional, so I kind of just do that and hope that it kind of appears magically out of nowhere. Now, you might be thinking, possibly, that this might be scripted. Well, none of this is scripted, unless I actually read out something that I may have, say, written down a little while ago. All this is kind of ad lib, ad hoc. On the hoof, is that right? On the hoof. I used to be a farmer, by the way. I used to deal with lots of hooves. But one thing that I would like to add is a very interesting phenomenon is happening, and that is that the campaign that has been put out into the world of or against anybody who speaks against the official narrative, it's so ironic that everything that people have said has or is actually coming true. And that in itself has to speak volumes to those of us who are perhaps just awakening or just on that verge of wondering whether something's actually right or something's wrong. Anyway, just a little addition, I thought that I might show you my new headwear, because I feel as though it's quite important that I show you this, and quite stylish too, so I may just have to go back a little bit, and I think you might be able to see if I just crouch down a little bit, get it in view there in its entirety. I'm now the proud owner, folks, of my very own tinfoil hat. You can't get them on Amazon at the moment, and but you know, there's no harm in making things yourself, because that's the way forward for us, folks, is to do things for ourselves now, you know, not rely on these big corporations to provide things for us, but to actually make it for ourselves. So I'm now the very proud owner of my very own tinfoil hat, and for those who are style conscious, you may be able to just kind of wear it. You see, I've got no resistance here on my head. If you've got a full head of hair, then wonderful. It may stick better. Perhaps a bit of blue tack might help. That is obviously the technical thing to do. But now you can see that I'm wearing it at a nice jaunty angle. Okay, so sorry I'm having to crouch down here, folks. It makes me look even weirder than what I normally do. But there you go. And it's even got the antenna, which means that I can tap into the aliens, of course. Okay. And is anything coming through? I'm not just quite sure. I'm going to remove it just in case, because it might be attracting those horrid waves of awfulness that are spreading across the world right now. But anyway, there it is, folks. Your very own tinfoil hat, easily made. Just go to the kitchen, grab yourself some tinfoil, and just keep pinching away, styling it. Actually, I should have shown you. I should have done a whole video of how I created this using a funnel. So if you go on the basis of the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz, which is an amazing story in itself, by the way, if you really look into the meaning behind The Wizard of Oz, look up the Tin Man, look at his stylish headwear, and then form your own tinfoil hat around that. Okay, folks? Thank you. Anyway, so allegedly, all us truth seekers wear these. We've been given labels as well, to be used as hate symbols. Now, if anybody out there has ever read 1984 by George Orwell, you'll know that in that book, the people's focus was put upon a hate figure. And we've always got to have a hate figure. Always. The way that these people operate who believe that they are controlling us is through many ways, and we've seen the fear, but we also have to have a focus of attention for our fear, anger and hate. And back in the day, we had good old Osama. You remember him? Conveniently disposed of at sea. He's now swimming with the fishes. And now we are becoming the hate figures, folks. We are becoming the targets of attention, of derision. Now, kind of putting my tinfoil hat back on for a moment, because I've got some vibes coming in here, is this formulation of opinion that anybody who speaks against the narrative is evil, is a criminal, and is killing people. Yes, folks, we're killing people. That was fresh in, by the way, from the cosmos. Yeah, we're actually killing people, folks. And it's funny as well, ironically, that the people who search for the truth and want to reveal the truth are generally involved in some form of healing or looking for a better way to live. A non-violent people. People who, like everybody else, just want to get on with their own lives. But we also want to share things. We want to work together as communities now and do away with the old system. It's funny, isn't it, how we who wish to create a better life are the ones who are killing people. Not those who create the wars or foster an environment and actively encourage bullying against their own citizens, giving people an almost sanctimonious right to go out there and bully people. Where does that end exactly? In stabbings, murders? Because anger can direct us in a positive way. However, if we are not wise enough to control that anger, it can direct us in many negative ways. So we have to be very careful about where our anger goes. We have to be very careful about our thoughts. And fear itself overrides the receptors in the brain, which kind of balances that out and puts that right. And when that's overridden, then that's when the true danger begins to occur. But for someone who is keen to find the truth, to find a better way of living, to be able to sit back and look at things objectively, to observe the situation without any malice towards any other human being or living creature on this planet, to find ways to heal, not just for themselves but for others, to create a harmonious life, working in harmony with Mother Earth and with each other. We will always have disagreement. There will always be disagreement. There will always be differences of opinion. But we must be wise enough to understand that, and wise enough to take the appropriate action within ourselves of how we interpret that, how we perceive that, and how we act on that. Thought is a very powerful thing. And thought is our connection with consciousness. The very act of thinking means that we are conscious. However, that does not necessarily mean that we have the wisdom to go along with that. There are many pathways of thought which seem to have gone down quite a dark route. And if we could put our combined efforts into channeling thought in a very positive way with good intent for all, just think how much we might be able to achieve. Take an example of the science that's gone behind nuclear physics. Let's think about that the creation of part of that field of study was the result of a weapon which could destroy vast swathes of humanity, life upon it, and the earth itself. That is, to me, folks, is an example of how the power of thought exists but does not have the wisdom to go along with it. Look around you in the world right now, folks. Look at the politics, look at the religions, look at all forms of control, and you will never see the wisdom within it. Because these people, the ones who control these systems, do not hold any form of wisdom, compassion, or love in their hearts. but they are quite readily attempting to turn the tables upon those who do possess these qualities to make these people out to be the ones who are causing the problem. It's quite staggering. So, when we can begin to turn the power of thought into something positive, we will create an amazing world for ourselves. And the power of thought, folks, is something that we all possess. If we are conscious, we can begin to control our thoughts. When we open our minds up to all possibilities, we begin to see a whole different world. We actually rise above the illusion. And I've said this many times. We rise above the illusion. We can see the illusion. We can see behind the dark veil which was put over this earth eons ago. But we all have that divine spark, folks. We have that divinity. And this is how we are connected to the higher consciousness. Always connected. And the information is received through the heart and then processed in the mind. And now, and I've mentioned this before, many people across the earth have had that heart-mind connection cut. Because the mind has taken over, the mind is the controller. The connection to the heart has been corrupted. And this is where the wisdom lies. This is where the truth lies, the wisdom lies. And when that connection is severed, we begin to lose our grip on reality, on consciousness. And just now, you may be able to see signs of that all over the world. But it's amazing, folks, how thought connects us all. There is no barrier or barriers that will halt the power of thought. We are connected all the time to all of consciousness throughout time, throughout dimension, throughout physical reality, and the reality or conscious reality of what we may class as spirit, and the consciousness going back to the divine source of all love. We have that connection all the time. And thought, the transference of thought, is immediate. There is no time delay in thought. There is no lag. Our thoughts are instant, are present in the moment. And in my last video, I talked about the famous scene in Star Wars where Obi-Wan said, disturbance in the force. There's a disturbance in the force. Well, I can tell you right now, folks, that I've sat here many times throughout this period in our history, and I've spoken to people from all over the world. And I have felt their energy, and they have felt my energy. And you've got to ask yourself, how does that work exactly? How does that actually work? It works because we are all connected by consciousness, by conscious thought. And we can transmit that thought over mass distances. But the distance is irrelevant, because the distance doesn't actually exist where thought is concerned. And this is why, folks, you might pick up something, a friend or family member, someone you may speak to, who gets that little inkling that they might need to get in touch with you, or you might need to get in touch with them. Just a little thought or a feeling that comes into the body. And that is you acting on your consciousness. And you give them a call or drop them a text or whatever, or however you communicate, and they will say something along the lines of, you know what, I was just thinking about you. And that is exactly what I'm speaking about here. Thought is powerful, because when we combine intention with that thought, that's when it becomes a real creator. They say that as divine beings, we are creators, and I feel that very strongly. So if we have the power to create through thought with intention, I'm going back to that intention again of using that power negatively or positively. And we'll combine that with the ego, because the ego can be our best friend or our worst enemy. Because we'll take a situation that someone might see someone somewhere and they are not wearing their mask, and it quite clearly says, in this location you must wear a mask at all times. But the person without the mask has seen above the illusion, has seen beyond the illusion. They've taken themselves out of that low frequency reality that has been cast over this world and raised their frequency higher. But the person who feels that they are drawn to say something to this other person has not yet learned to control their ego, has not yet learned to rise above that negative frequency. And this does not make that person a bad person. They are on their journey as equally as everybody else. But we are existing in two frequency states. But this person, and I've seen it happening, will sanctimoniously approach the other person and challenge them for not wearing a mask, a covering around the face which restricts the breath. The breath being the very thing that keeps us alive. The breath is everything. Without the breath, our bodies shut down, and eventually the spirit will leave the body. So just take that, folks, as a pointer for one of the ultimate systems of control of why we have been instructed by our controllers to wear masks. It restricts the thing that keeps us alive. It tells the brain that the air is poison, when in reality you take the mask off and the air is not poison. And the air is not poison because the planet that we live on is one of the most amazing recyclers that we could ever wish to dream up. It purifies our air, the trees, the plants, the vegetation, the sea, the plankton in the sea life. It all begins to purify itself. The human body purifies itself. We have an immune system that is way beyond our scientific knowledge. We are understanding it piece by piece, but there is so much more to the immune system than our science currently understands. And this as well, folks, is another form of control to make us believe that science has all the answers. Most of what science is theory. And yes, experiments can be recreated in a lab situation, but most of it is theory. It is a thought. We have so much yet to learn, but we will not allow ourselves to learn it because we take things as fact. It is preached as fact. It is educated into us from a very early age that some of these things, these control systems, are inevitable and are fact. They're not fact or inevitable. We are beings of endless possibility. And the system that we have and that we live in our world is a control system created by the power of thought of beings who wish to control us. And we have allowed ourselves to accept that control system, that creation of thought, as our reality. And that, folks, is one of the reasons why we, as divine spirit and light form, come to this planet to experience that reality. Because as part of that experience, that will help us to progress in our spiritual self. It adds to the divine experience. We come here to experience all the things that planet Earth or a life on planet Earth can throw at us. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent. However form that comes in. It is all part of the divine experience. We are experiencing divinity in physical form. And as I mentioned in my last video, that there are controllers who can manipulate that physical reality with the utmost perfection and precision. That is so important that we need to know that, folks. That we are being controlled. There is no such thing as this illusion. It is not truly real. And thankfully, even science is finding this out now. So, thought, the power of thought, instant thought, connection. We can transmit thoughts anywhere instantaneously. But when we convert that into something positive, we then begin to truly tap into our creator self. And one of the best forms of doing this is to meditate. And people out there, I've heard so many times people out there saying, well, what can I do to help the situation? I can't do anything. I'm powerless. I'm completely powerless to do anything about it. Well, number one, that's what these controllers want you to think, that you are powerless, that you're just a tiny little pea somewhere in this grand scheme of a universe that's so vast that we are totally insignificant. We are isolated on this planet, and that we are now down to the nth degree in who we actually are and what worth we have. In reality, we are part of the divine source of all love. We have a power within us that can create worlds. You might laugh at that one, but the controllers did it. They've used that power to create what I would class as a hell on earth. But we folks can get out of that hell on earth if we allow ourselves to do so. One of the greatest films of all time is The Matrix. And in that film, it shows every one of us, if we take the time to watch it and study it and understand the message in that film, that we can escape that illusion, that reality. But it also tells us that there are people who will not want to escape that reality. So for all those people asking now about the ascension and what will happen to the people who don't want this or don't see it, well, some of them, folks, will actually begin to see it, but some of them don't want to see it. And they eventually, when it's their time to pass, will move on to a different reality. But for those who wish to inhabit this earth and restore it back to its former glory and beauty, then we've got work to do. But we know that within ourselves that we're here to do that work. So, combining meditation together, and I mentioned this in, I think it was the podcast with Mark Devlin, and there was an experiment took place, and which categorically proved the power of meditation. It was either California or Washington DC. I'm not quite sure. It can be found on the internet, by the way. I did look it up at the time because somebody queried it. I couldn't remember it even back then. Couldn't remember back then. I can't remember now. But I must work on improving my memory. Thought or note to self. But it happened. It's still happening. We all got together globally on the 21st of December to project that thought out there. I believe there's another meditation that's taking place, but there's meditations taking place all over the world. But the group consciousness is equally as powerful as the singular consciousness, because the singular consciousness is part of the group anyway. We are all one. Intention is what is important. Putting that intention of creating a better world for ourselves is what's important, folks. We can meditate all day long, sit under a banyan tree or do whatever, sit there with the mudras and do the whole thing, the whole New Age thing, you know? And it can be completely and utterly meaningless. But when we put our intention, our love, our compassion, our healing into that meditation, we allow ourselves to become still. We allow ourselves to still the mind and still the body, but hold that intention there. We can create some amazing things. So, for those who feel powerless, you are anything but powerless. You have an immense power within you. And when you tap into it through meditation and with the intention, you can create worlds. You are not insignificant. You are beautiful, divine light. Connected with all of consciousness through the power of love. We folks have the power to get ourselves out of this. And I'm sorry to say, and I've said it before, there is no saviour, okay? Strike me down for saying that, but there is no saviour who is going to come and solve all our problems. We have to learn to do that for ourselves, and that is one of the reasons we are here incarnating on this planet right now in these times. We've got to find that strength, that inner strength to do that, to awaken ourselves, to remember who we really are, to remember our divinity, and to use that divine power to create a better earth. To create an earth filled with beings that coexist in harmony with each other, without controlling forces, without war, without murder, without greed, without a very small minority of people holding the wealth and power. We all hold the power, and we shall take that back. We shall reclaim that power and make it ours once again. But we shall use that power with love, compassion, kindness, healing, and above all, wisdom. That is the message, folks. That is who we are. We are now seeing the tide turning. Remember who you are. Remember, you are light. And light cannot be destroyed. Your physical body will pass, but your light being is eternal. Take away the constraints of that time field. Release yourself in meditation and understand that when you are in meditation, there is no time. Time disappears, and it disappears because there is no time. You are experiencing your ultimate consciousness in meditation. In your body, you are not bound by physical restriction. You become your spirit or light body in meditation. You experience your true self or part of your true self. If you want to know more about meditation, it perhaps intrigues you, but you're a little bit kind of reluctant or a little bit skeptical, or you might just think, well, nothing will calm my mind, please do come and talk to us. We offer a sanctuary, folks, at our centre. A sanctuary where you can find your divinity. A place where like-minded people come together to share their experiences, to help each other, and to support each other with no ego, no jealousy, no envy, none of the negative emotions, but people who genuinely come because they are drawn to it and they want to know more, want to feel more, want to be more, and be a part of this great awakening. We'll always look forward to seeing you, but if you are isolated, just know that from an armchair or a bed or a living room floor or out in nature, that you are connected to the higher consciousness at all times. It doesn't matter where you are, you can influence with your intention and manifest through your intention a better world for you, your children, grandchildren, children's children, and generations to come. And you can also heal the generations past. So, folks, thank you once again for tuning in and listening. And weirdly, I feel as though I've had my little hat on my head all the way through that. Perhaps I have. Perhaps I have. I might look to kind of sell these on Amazon or something. I don't know how much we'd ask for it, but you know, who knows? Could be a great business idea. Tinfoil hats, real tinfoil hats with proper antenna. Don't forget the antenna, because without those, you can't get those weird, amazingly crazy vibes that come from different parts of the universe and wherever, that turn someone like me into that kind of classic tinfoil hat wearer. I'm going to have to get a bit of blue tack. It looks quite jaunty from that angle, although I don't know whether it might affect the signal, but keep a sense of humour, folks. It helps. Me and Anne put on some music last night and we danced and danced and danced. And how that made us feel was just amazing. Yeah? Do the dance of life, love each other, throw those intentions out there. They are working, they're having a massive, massive impact on this fabric of reality that we are now beginning to tear the veil apart and see through it. Keep it up, folks. You're wonderful. Love and light to all, and thank you once again for tuning in. Don't forget to drop us a comment. Don't forget to drop us a like. If you've not subscribed, please do so, and hope to see you very soon. Thank you.